For all that, we were doing a series in our exhortations on the church. And I had given a mnemonic for it, the ships of Christ's fleet. And so we started and spent a long time with the central ship of that fleet, worship, that ship, worship. We explored why we do it and spent a longer time on how we do it, since that is the most neglected biblical part in our age. Many preach long and loud about the need and the good of worship. Few explore to see how biblically worship is done. God did train his people in worship. He wrote whole books on what it looks like to approach God and made sure that they were written down even for us. Liturgy is that. It is biblical exploration of how to approach God. And our approach to God is, as we saw, through confession and consecration and communion, repenting, listening, and then being with God. But we finished that and moved on to the less central, but no less critical ships of the fleet, again using the mnemonic of fellowship, discipleship, leadership, lordship. We had already looked at Scripture's teachings about the church being the place of having the duty of Christian fellowship and Christian discipleship. Fellowship because it is impossible to be the church alone. Most of the Bible desires and states the desire to be in the great congregation, or to be in the congregation and not forsake the meeting together. And most of the New Testament epistles are counsel on how to love others in the church, for you won't be alone if it's church. Discipleship also is the other one, because the church isn't just social, the church is on mission. It is doing something in the world. It's making disciples. Jesus calls us to make disciples, calls us to be his disciples. And disciple is simply that Latin word discipuli, which means student. We are on mission to learn from God. And that is all that we have said in summary. And that means we're ready for the next two, but we're not going to do those today. It's been a long time. And so instead, consider all that we have said so far. Consider where you stand this morning as you come to God with regards to worship, the fellowship, and discipleship. Or let's put it again in the opposite way. Is your greatest desire to come before God, as he said, to do it with people he has called and to do it with his character? Or the opposite would sound like this, to do this my own way, to do this alone and away from everyone else, and to do this just to be me. See, we like the sound of worship, fellowship, and discipleship until we hear what those things are calling us to forsake. Perhaps as you explore now, you see your need in some place to confess. So hear this from Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.